Are you spending too little in retirement?
This is Retirement Revealed, where Jeremy Keil and his guests guide you towards making smarter retirement, investment, and tax planning decisions.
Welcome to Retirement Revealed. I'm your host, Jeremy Keil, and we're going to turn your retirement savings into retirement income. Today, I'm talking about the way that you're taking money out of your retirement investments, and perhaps you're doing it all wrong. Now, I was reading a recent article in Barron's. I'm going to link to that article. It's behind a paywall, so I found the study itself. So this article is called, "These Retirees Have a Good Problem. They Aren't Spending Enough." That article is really based on a study from New York Life, so I'll link to that study too. And then I found another article that's on a free site, so you have all access to all of those. And we're trying to just figure out not just retirement savings, but retirement income, like I mentioned as well too. And it's interesting, the economists that are out there studying retirements often have two big questions, two big concerns or wonderings about what are these retirees doing. One of them is that they're wondering, why don't retirees buy more annuities? If they're concerned about lifetime income and not outliving their income, why aren't they using these pure single premium immediate annuity type of accounts? And why are they not using that? That helps them get all the income over their lifetime. So that's one question the economists have that are studying retirement. Another one is, why do some retirees not spend the money they've saved, right? You've worked hard, you've earned it, you've built up your money, you've saved it for the future. Well, now the future's come. Why aren't you spending that? Now, I read a book called Die with Zero recently. I did a YouTube video about that, so I'll put a link there in the notes about, you can check out my thoughts on this book, Die with Zero. But the author, Bill Perkins, when he talks about saving money up, it's really your life force. It's your time, it's your energy, it's your effort that went into generating the money through work. You saved it up, and if you don't spend it, you just wasted parts of your life. Now, I don't know if I'd go that far to say that you wasted parts of your life, but it's worth understanding that you've built this money up for a reason. Are you doing the best with that money that you have set aside? And a few things I saw in the Barron's article. It said the primary driver behind underspending is uncertainty about the future, especially healthcare needs. And the study showed that 16% of retirees withdraw from their portfolios, their investments, on a regular, systematic, like a monthly basis. 30% don't even withdraw any money at all from their savings accounts and their investment portfolio. So Bill Perkins from Die with Zero might have the bone to pick with those 30%. I find it interesting that only 16% of retirees are taking a periodic payout from their investments. I found, working with hundreds of retirees over the past 20 years, that this way of taking your money out on a consistent monthly basis is a lot more, well, predictable for sure, but just feels a lot nicer, right? You could say, I'll only take money out when I need it. And I'm thinking of a few people in particular that they said, well, I'll just take money out when I need it. Well, then talking with them, it turned out around the 25th of the month, they kind of ran out of money, and they'd call me up and ask for $500 out. And then around the 25th of the next month, they'd kind of run out of money, and they'd call me up and ask for like $500 or $1,000 out. And they could afford to take the money out. And they were taking the money out, but they spent all this time kind of worrying about the money, watching their checking account balance go low, feeling guilty about calling their advisor and asking for their own money back on there. And it took me a while, but I finally convinced them, hey, you're taking out an average of $800 every single month. Why don't you just take out $800 every single month? I'm certain that it's just going to feel better doing that. You're taking the same dollar amount out, just you're going to have a lot less guilt. You're not going to have to worry about watching your checking account dwindle. And after a year of that, they were so thankful that you're absolutely right. They had we had looked 2 years prior. We had looked at that prior year. They had taken out the same exact dollar amount. Just there's a lot less stress. Think too about your paycheck while you're working. You spent your whole working career getting a paycheck every couple of weeks. why would you not want to replicate that in retirement? Why are you adding the extra stress of, can I afford to take this out? Should I take money out from there? And so that's an interesting thing. I would encourage you to go ahead and set up your retirement account so it's paying out to you on a monthly basis. That's the goal of the retirement savings, is to turn into retirement income. What's interesting, though, I like this quote in Barron's. It says, getting used to this new pattern of spending, I kind of need permission. This is a quote from a client, a retiree. You spend 35 years saving, and now you shift your focus to spending. It's weird. And I agree, right? I think that's a big driver behind why retirees, why you might not be taking your money out on a consistent basis, is because you spent your whole life, working life, putting money in on a consistent basis and feeling that win, right? Saving money is a win. Seeing your account balance grow is a win. And yet doing the opposite, if putting money in feels like a win, it means that taking money out feels like a loss. And so this client says that his financial advisor basically gives them permission, gives them an allowance, is what the client kind of jokingly referred to. I don't like the word allowance, but I do like the word permission. I've often seen when I'm talking to people who have saved well and just don't feel comfortable taking the money out, and yet they still have a lot of goals, like they want to do some travel or do things around the house or get a new car maybe a little bit more frequently than they did before. I think a lot of times they need the permission. They need the permission. They need a plan. And I think if you've done the planning, you ought to feel the permission that, yes, I've done the planning, either on my own or with a financial advisor, to say I can afford to take this money out. You should feel the permission to take that money out. And I've quite often seen, I've added that into retirement plans where, yes, this is the amount you're planning on, maybe from Social Security and things like that. But let's add in some permission money. You have permission to take out $10,000 extra a year, or $20,000, or whatever the number might be. So that's interesting on there. So I'm going to talk through here that study. It goes through a little bit in depth. Great articles that summarize it. But this study, and I don't quite often quote from things, but this is a great quote to start out with. It says, most Americans devote their working years to saving money to support a long, happy retirement. Surprisingly, few retirees who have built up their savings are, in fact, spending the retirement nest eggs they've worked so hard to create. Instead, many retirees are only spending guaranteed sources of income, such as Social Security and pensions, or other sources of money from dividends or interest earned on their investments. Still others are continuing to save money in retirement. I'm thinking of one client in particular where we're sending them roughly $3,000 every month from one account to their checking account. And they're sending that same account from their checking to their investments $100 every month because they've grown up as savers. They want to keep saving for the future. And you know what? As illogical and funny as that sounds, like, why don't I just send them $2,900 a month? It helps them feel more comfortable about their investments. It helps them feel as if they're still winning. So I kind of like that. But it is interesting that some people have saved so well that they have trouble spending the money that they have. That's the point of this story. Some interesting things in here, and I got to tell you, this study is from New York Life. So a place like New York Life, they sell annuities, and so you got to keep that kind of in the back of your mind. But I know some of the people doing these types of studies. I don't know if David Blanchett was on this study, but there he is. He did one of them. David Blanchett, Michael Finke. These are some great, very objective type of researchers. And so it was sponsored by New York Life, a place that sells annuities. But the research objectively is looking at how do people act in retirement. And they find that the retirees with a steady stream of retirement income feel more confident, and they spend more over time. So it was interesting on that, that if you have a steady stream of income, you feel more confident, and yet most retirees are not giving themselves that steady stream of income. So if you want some retirement confidence, give yourself, again, that just take a monthly payout. Or here's another thing I find quite often where we go through, do the retirement analysis, find that you ought to wait a year or two or however long it is to get that Social Security. And you're waiting on Social Security so you get more from Social Security over your whole lifetime. And if you're waiting on Social Security and you know that a year or 2 years from now, you're going to be getting $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month, whatever that might be, and your advisor has done the math to say you can afford to do this, they've probably done the math saying you can afford to do this, knowing you've got a big chunk of money that you can afford to take money out of. And I don't think it's the idea of the advisor, at least isn't for me to say, oh, you ought to wait on Social Security, which means don't get any money at all in income the next couple of years. It's just saying you could take your Social Security today and let your savings grow. Why don't you just do the opposite? Why don't you live off of your savings today and let your Social Security grow? So if you're someone that's waiting on Social Security because it's a wise choice to get more and you have those extra investments, feel comfortable taking whatever you're supposed to get, right? If you're supposed to get $3,000 from Social Security a few years down the road, you ought to feel comfortable taking out $3,000 a month then from your investments to live on, because you're going to enjoy that money. I'm going to agree with that Bill Perkins from Die with Zero that you're going to enjoy money more today than you will down the road. So that's something to keep in mind. Another interesting part of it too is that a large amount of people are not spending their money because they're worried about, what if I have a long-term care? What if I have a health emergency down the road? And so what they're doing is they're spending less money now. They're holding on to their money in case something happens in the future. Well, in case something happens, there's a risk that something might happen in the future. Those words ought to go with the idea of insurance, where it might not happen to you, might not happen to your spouse, but it might happen to somebody else in your as a fellow retiree. And if there's a 1 in 5 chance, 1 in 3 chance, 1 in 2 chance, 1 in 10 chance, 1 in 100 chance, whatever the chances are that something might happen, that's when the idea of insurance can come around to say, let's all just work together, pool together, so that if it doesn't happen to you, you didn't have to set aside hundreds of thousands of dollars just in case for something that might not happen. But if it does happen to you, you've got money ready to go from the insurance. And what the study, this is EBRI, which is an Employee Benefit Research Institute, so they're not selling annuities. They found that if you had long-term care insurance coverage, you were spending roughly $47,000 a year. If you did not have long-term care insurance coverage, you spent only $32,000 a year. Now these numbers are about 15 years old. And of course, you might be thinking, which I first did, that, well, of course, if you have more money, then you might be able to afford those insurance premiums. But they did a control. They said they did this regression, fancy statistical term to say, based on your income, based on your wealth, when you equalize all those, the people with long-term care insurance coverage were feeling comfortable in spending $12,000 extra per year. And chances are the long-term care insurance itself does not cost $12,000 per year. So it's interesting where a lot of times you've got this fear, this risk, I need the money just in case this thing happens. Well, if you use the risk and maybe buy the insurance, you can know that the fear and the risk is being covered by the insurance, and you can enjoy that money as well too on there. So it's interesting things that are definitely part of this. And that's why I had the podcast just a few weeks ago about all the different risks to retirement, where a big part of why you might not be spending the money you've saved is because you're worried about the risk. You're worried about the longevity risk, the sequence of return risk, the long-term care risk. And I believe that the solution to these risks is not hold on to all the money you've ever saved. Don't spend a thing. The risk is to plan it out, take a look at the probabilities, and sometimes with the probabilities, you make use of things like insurance to help spread out that risk, to reduce that risk on there, and that ought to make you feel a lot more comfortable. Don't be like the 84% of Americans that the studies show are not withdrawing from their investments on a regular basis. You've worked hard, you've saved hard, you deserve to be confident in your retirement. Now, if you'd like to get more ideas on how to avoid big retirement mistakes, go ahead right now, click on that subscribe button. Thank you for listening to the Retirement Revealed podcast. We believe if you know more about your money, you will feel better about your money and you will make better money decisions. Hi, I'm Jeremy Keil, owner of Keil Financial Partners. And if you're interested in seeing how we help our clients get more income, pay less in taxes, and avoid big retirement mistakes, make sure to go to keilfp.com. That's KEILFP.com.